Jerry.
Appreciate y'all letting me be here. Y'all will probably give me a couple of calls, wouldn't you? You married to ASHS girl. Oh, I understand that. So you might, I know that. Yeah, but I'll go get me a little. I don't want that much.
Yeah. Will you get it? Oh, you wanted me to make me a copy. You made me with well, don't worry about it, because already got it set up. Barney, it's good to see you.
Yes. He asked me, where is it? It's not from the
Get over you told me hair like that. Come back there and sit down. Couldn't it? Oh, we need that excuse all the time. I got to keep Liddy Warren straight. Miss Joel, how you doing? Liddy. Is this about okay?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
I certainly appreciate your help.
Got some coffee. Jewel? Where's Harold at? Yeah. Betty, this is the worst bunch in the world to try to get them under control. They like a bunch of cattle at a sale. No, I ain't got a thumb that big. Okay. Wait just a minute. We'll get the rest of these women.
The name?
Are they coming? We almost ready. Oh, you just can't fool with these women. They always dragging around. If they ain't dragging around, it's a bunch of pistols sneaking in here. Good to see you. Earl, Earl usually comes in the back door.
Long distance folks. See, that was safe, you'll see. What you sweet.
Let me make sure there's nobody else out here. Okay, we ready to go. Elena, if there ain't any more chairs, get Jerry Simmons out of there. We won't even miss it.
Hey, y'all can take care of when we adjourn.
Thing is, he really means it. What we done is we sold part of the chairs at the yard sale Saturday. Okay. All right, are we ready now? We got everybody we supposed to have, I guess. Preacher Carter, would you open with a word of prayer, please?
Right here. It's on God our Father. Each time we meet, let us be reminded that we're forever grateful to those who more than 100 years ago saw a future in this community when there was nothing but the forest and trees. And developed yet, provided livelihood and schools, and churches, and houses. We provided wages for men during their career. We made a great contribution, but now we're threatening to lose our schools and even some of our ministries. Help us to keep the faith that this community will never die. Lord, if you remember, this is our society. We may not stand as strong as it has in the past. What it has done will never be forgotten. And even those who walk the soils of this community take great pride in knowing that their roots and the roots here in this community. Pray for this society now to continue to abide by the records that they will always be kept safe in the 800 years for the generation to come behind us.
Would y'all please stand for the pledge?
Jerry, does everybody know you're not supposed to have anything in your left hand when you say the prayer?
Pledge allegiance to the
flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Elaine.
You line up about one more time out of you, and you're going to be standing in the corner with Margarita Jones. Okay. Ann is not here tonight. That's our treasurer. But y'all all know that this past Saturday we had a work day, and we had a yard sale, and singing and frolicking, and everything went along great. We all had a good time. We didn't make a lot of money, but we had a real good time. Look at this.
Slow post.
Yeah.
But at least
Again, a speaker's just got in. Come on in, sweet Stucky. Real teacher. Okay, but to bring y'all up to date so you'll know what we did. Now, this is not all profit, but we brought in approximately $1,600 altogether. And possibly, I don't know what percentage of that would be profit. We can't figure that out because we got some donations, we sold some books, we sold some meat. I tried to sell my wife, somebody take her. Larry tried to sell his. Anyway, we had a good day. We can keep the lights on another month or two. It was good work out of everybody. It seemed to me like that everybody had a good time. If you didn't have a good time, it was your own fault. The biggest thing we do at these things is hug. You always run up on people you haven't seen in so long, and you're so glad to see them, and you hug them, and you shake hands, and then you ask your wife, who was that? I'm gonna tell y'all one of mine and Elena's secrets. I might shouldn't tell this, but through the years, we know a few people, and she and I, regardless of where we go, if she sees me stop and talk to somebody, I told her, you keep walking, because I don't know if I can remember who them people are, and I can't introduce you to them. So keep going on down there. And it's worked so far.
What you're supposed to do, you're supposed to say, honey, this is Mr.
Somebody like Henry or McCutcheon to say, what'd you say?
I started introducing my wife to a guy that worked with the paper at one time. His nickname, that's all I knew. And his nickname was Slackjaw. I thought he talked a lot. They said, I got a slack jaw. So I avoided her. I kept him away from her. Well, Slackjaw.
Oh, man. But we all had a good time. I'm glad of you all we need to talk tonight because we got a big program planned and we got a short time to plan it in. Does anybody have anything that we need to bring out tonight before we move on? Margaret?
You knew I would. No, I want to remind everybody, whether you take the Tri-City Ledger or not, we're going to be featured in Thursday's paper. So if you didn't get out to the festival, get the Tri-City Ledger and look it up. We'll have a full page of pictures and of course, my column. You won't want this, but I think Janet's doing the paper page or whatever it is. They've cut back on their people now. So from now on, it'll be Donald Wright doing ours and Janet does the other. Jeremy's been let go.
Okay. Harold, never did come in?
No, catch him just before we have our meal, after we adjourn.
Oh,
You know, when you say
okay.
start to adjourn.
Okay. Before we move on, real quick, our guest speaker for next month is going to be Miss Ruth Page over here. And Miss Ruth Page was a midwife around here and worked with the Turvals for 100 years, wasn't it, Miss Ruth? So y'all be sure that next month you come back and listen to her tell about how life was and how work went on in the old Century Hospital. Okay. Quickly, anybody else have anything we need to announce? So that's great. Yes, sir.
Lastly, you mentioned the word announcement. I wasn't going to say anything. Printer Lodge will be observing its 131st anniversary this Sunday.
This Sunday.
The doors are open. We invite you to come.
We thank you, preacher.
It's older than
Is it older than Henry Road? Yes, sir. Okay, thank you. Yes, sir, Mr.
Should I
Sellers.
take a minute on video before we?
Yeah, well,
Oh, okay.
I was fixing to hit in on that.
Okay.
And so, as a matter of fact, you go right ahead and fire it up right now. We'll let you go, and then we'll jump back over to Patsy. Well,
We'll eventually let you give the minutes.
oh, okay. I
Sorry.
You want the minutes?
Yeah, I'm ready for the minutes, Miss Jewell.
Tuesday, March the 17th, regular meeting, 2009 at 6 p.m. President Jerry Fisher called meeting to order. Don Sales opened with prayer. President Fisher led the Pledge of Allegiance. Ann was unable to attend the Treasurer's report. The 0100 account has been rolled over to a check-bearing account. Patsy Green gave information of Relay for Life. She asked for persons to stay overnight. How to get involved. Sign up for a t-shirt and give a donation. There will be a survivor's luncheon. Need fundraisers and donations. You get a luminary for a donation. That's a bag with a light in it, and they'll tell you what to do with it once you're there. Bring a chair, a tent, and things to eat, whatever you can, bring. All that's not wrote down here. I just thought of it. Patsy wants game participation and requested that Amber St. be co-chaplain and to make a spirit stick. $100 will be saved for next year's registration for Relay for Life. Patsy donated the $100 for this year. For any information that you need, ask Patsy or go to the website, which I don't know what that is. President Fisher encouraged participation, gave his testimony on how generous the Cancer Society was to him. Don talked about the conversation that he had with a great-granddaughter of Mr. Sullivan. She was amazed at all of the historical items. Billy Bruton was the speaker and spoke about the history of McDavid. Meeting was adjourned and fellowship meal was provided by Tess Estes and Jewel Warren. Respectfully, Jewel Warren.
Is there any corrections to those minutes? If not, can we get a motion that we accept them as they're written? So moved by Brother Green, David Green. We get a second?
Second.
Got a second by Brother Tisdale there. All in favor of this signify by saying aye. Aye. All opposed? Be quiet, Margaret. Okay, now we're moving right along. Who, by the way, before we move along, let me remind somebody of something. Elena, who is in charge of the refreshments next month?
I think it was Brenda.
May, yeah, it's Brenda.
It's Brenda? Okay, tell her that Ruth Page is a big eater, so she better be in there.
Okay.
No, I was kidding. Okay, Jerry, we're going to let you go with the ball now.
Okay, I don't know how many of you look at northescambia.com. Recently, Patsy was talking about the Relay for Life. Recently, they said something about that it was going to be held at the old Central High School Stadium. I emailed William and told him, I said, that's not what it's called. It's called the K.O. Stanton Stadium. So he wanted to do a feature on that, and if you've seen it in the last couple of days, there has been a feature with some information about KO and about the stadium, most of which was from an article that I did for the Tri-City Ledger a few months ago. But in the meantime, Ann Williamson, Ann Stanton, located or has a video of that event, and I would like to share that with you for it's about 5 minutes long, and her daughter brought it to me at the museum this morning today, and I think it's very touching, and it's really the whole point of all of this is that it's very appropriate, very fitting that the Relay for Life for Cancer is held in K.O. Stanton Stadium since he passed away in 1991 from cancer.
Come to Black Cat.
School, and Tyree, his daughter, and their family. Flora Jean Palmer and his daughter and their family. And his sister, Myra Jean Hope, and family, whose lives he has touched these past 40 years. Lions Club, he is married to the former Frances Harrison, his wife of 41 years. He has 3 children. K.O. is active member of the Century United Methodist Church. His life is a living example of the love we should all share. He is what all black cats aspire to become, and this is his night. Which is on the field to present a plaque to KO.
KO, from the staff and management of radio station WKNU, this plaque says, in recognition of outstanding service to the football fans of this area, WKNU Radio salutes the one and only K.O. Stanton.
The second presentation presented by Dr. Pete Payton.
K.O., it is certainly a privilege for me to be here tonight representing the Escambia County School Board, the entire Escambia County School District, and I think most of all of your large family that is seated in the stadium tonight. I too would like to present to you, K.O., a plaque which reads, presented to K.O. Stanton, voice of the Black Cats, from 1950 to 1990, presented by Century High School in appreciation of your dedication to the youth of the Century community, September the 7th, 1990. At this time, I would ask that everyone in this stand, please, you are already standing, and please join me in giving Mr. K.O. Stanton a big round of applause that he shall never forget.
And folks, after the game, take time to go by and thank K.O. for all he's done for the Century Black Cats. K.O., we love you and we thank you for all that you've done.
Now, I think Patsy wanted to talk about Relay for Life.
As if I can talk.
Before she gets started, can I add a little postscript to that? During the storm, the last hurricane, or the next to the last one that come through, knocked over the K.O. Stanton field sign down there. And the Historical Society, Alger-Sullivan Historical Society, and the Lions Club got together and had a new sign made and paid for it, and the city put it up for us. And so the K.O. Stanton sign is still over the state.
Patsy,
Yes, sir.
was you fixing to get started?
I can't talk right now.
Well, I can't.
Go ahead.
Did y'all see, we always got our delinquent members showed up tonight. Miss Margarita Jones, it's so good to see you back here with us. I'm glad to have you. And I ain't gonna make you stand in the corner tonight.
I'm taking her place.
Yeah, Larry's gonna take your place. Okay, Patsy, go to it.
Okay, I was appointed captain of Alger-Sullivan Historical Society's Relay for Life team. I'll be brief. How can you get involved if you so choose to? Alright, there's three main ways, and then I'm going to tell you about a fourth way that is limited to only certain people. Alright, first way. Gary, would you stand up? If you don't want to get involved any other way, would you please give a donation to the American Cancer Society, to this man right here, before you leave here tonight. We're supposed to raise $1,000 between now and August. We probably won't make that, but if you got some you could spare, and I've been told that what's raised by the Century Relay for Life gets spent on the people in the Century area. They do things like when somebody's having to go down for chemotherapy or radiation, they'll help out with gas money to go down there, pay for their lunch while they're down there, things like that. So that's what I've been told. I haven't examined the books, but I've been told that what's raised in the Century gets spent on the people of the Century area. So if you don't want to get involved any other way, I encourage you to, and this will be, it'll be credited individually to Gary to see if we can't get him a little recognition there at the relay, and also it'll be credited to Alger-Sullivan Historical Society's team. All right, I need some people. We're supposed to have somebody walking on that track all the time, not one person. Hopefully not one person, but from noon Saturday, the 25th, this coming Saturday, from noon Saturday through 5 a.m. Sunday, we're supposed to have somebody on the track at all times. So if you got some spare time Saturday
afternoon or evening or early Sunday morning, let me know and I'll put your name down on our list of team members. And I need to know that because I need to go to a meeting pretty shortly tonight and turn in our list of team members, so I need to know.
Do you have to
Right,
have
right
time?
now.
Do you need to know the times?
I don't need to know the times, I just need to know who's willing for me to give your name as one of our team members.
Joel and Harold Warren, that'll be two.
All right, I got Patsy Green, David Green, and David's not gonna walk, he's gonna do, we have to have a team talent at some point during the evening, that some sort of entertainment that has something to do with cancer prevention, and David's taking care of that for us. So he says he's not going to walk a lap, but he's going to do that. Amber Estes, and she has possibly 2 friends who will be joining us. Gary Day, Joyce Day, Jewel and Harold Warren, and Barney just said he would do it. So that might give him Don. All right, anybody else? Huh?
How far is it around it?
It's around
Okay.
it's around the outside edge of the football field at Cam Stanton Stadium.
300 yards approximately.
I will attempt.
All right.
On through.
Jerry, can we find a hat somewhere and then pass it around?
And I will make Ellen,
there you
I will
go.
make Ellen do the same.
Or do that at the refresh.
Patsy, excuse me, can I ask a question or make
Sure.
a statement? Now, I know last year when I did it, I wasn't, I just walked for the church. And they had someone sitting, and they had your name there, and every time you make a lap, they'd put a mark that you made that lap.
Right.
And I think more people makes a lap. I
Right.
don't know if they give them a prize or just recognition or
The
what.
one who makes the most laps gets a prize. Well, I don't know if it's prize, but they call their
Recognition
name.
or
They
something.
call their name out.
So anyway, you're usually numbered to how many laps you made. I mean, not out loud,
And
but I
if
mean,
you-
if you want to know, they'll tell you.
And if you know Coach Lorenzo Jones, you might get called up to the podium at 3 o'clock in the morning and told that you won some sort of drawing that you didn't know you had entered, and that you have to sing a song.
Patsy, why don't we
That's been
pass
known
the
to
hat
happen.
after the meeting? so-
Right. And we can, Gary will take care of that
Okay.
for me and get it to me.
Right.
All right, the other way that you can get involved, Miss Warren sells Stanley, and Stanley has a very good program of fundraising. So she's going to let us know later on the dates for that, but she's going to do a Stanley fundraiser. So if you don't want to get involved any other way, maybe you
show 'em
can
real
buy some
quick
Stanley.
what
You can.
Okay. Well, right here is a mop bucket, what's called a mop bucket. If you sell 10 kettle cleaners, and I've got one customer that has bought 7 and 8 at one time. So if you buy 10 kettle cleaners, sell 10 kettle cleaners, you would receive $100 for the club, and you would get the bucket. But, you can go on and sell like 10 bucketfuls, the group here, and then we would have $1,000. But if you don't want to sell just kettle cleaners, I can substitute anything of the same value as a kettle cleaner. And all of the Stanley product is biodegradable. I've been using it for about 40 years or more. And I've had no problem. I never go through the lines at the store. So that is an easy way to make money because a lot of people love Stanley.
All right, and the relay event will be this coming Saturday and Sunday, but we have until, it's either the end of July or early August to get the money in that'll still count for it, so we'll let Ms. Warren tell us more about that later and get people involved in doing that later. Okay, a little bit of information, the one that the special people can be involved in. If you are a cancer survivor, or you know a cancer survivor, there'll be a reception for cancer survivors in the Old Century High School gym at 10:30 a.m. Saturday morning. You can sign up ahead of time, or you can show up about 10 a.m. and sign up at that time. And the survivor reception and the shirt designating you as a cancer survivor, that's all free. So if you are a cancer survivor, or you know a cancer survivor, as long as you show up about 10 a.m. Saturday morning, you can get in on that and be involved in that. That'll be you get a brunch and a free brunch and a free T-shirt if you'd like to be involved. All right, the opening ceremonies will be at 12 noon. The first lap, which is for cancer survivors only, will be at 12:15. And then after that, everybody that's there start walking. Okay, some things we need to have. We need to have a spirit stick. Amber Estes is taking care of that. And a banner, which Amber's taking care of. A team talent that deals with cancer, which David's taking care of. And a tricycle relay, which if anybody has access to a tricycle that we can use for the tricycle relay. If nobody does, I can probably bum one from the pre-K class at school.
You just need one?
I just need one. You got one? Okay. I should be back in time to get with you. If not, I'll contact you and get with you on that. But they just, basically you walk in and they throw in a little bit of something all every now and then to relieve the monotony a little bit. It's a lot of fun. I participated in 2 of them, and it's a lot of fun. This year, since we're ending on Sunday morning, they have a worship service at about 4 a.m. And anybody that, even if you didn't give me your name, if you want to drop by Saturday afternoon, I think after dark you got to be registered with a team to stay, but up until dark, anybody that wants to drop by is welcome. Any questions, comments, complaints? So I need to rush off to the Relay for Life meeting.
Got a question.
Yes.
When do we get our T-shirt? When do we pick up our T-shirt?
I might get them tonight, and I'll get back here as quick as I can. If I don't see you tonight, I'm in the phone book. Patsy Chancery Green or David Huey Green, call me and we'll make arrangements, or I'll get them to you Saturday when you get there. If you're not going to be there Saturday, and like we had one, Elena paid for a T-shirt, so she gets one whether she's there Saturday or not. And if you're not there Saturday, and you're not here when I get back tonight, I'll get it to you sometime.
It conflicted with
Right.
the one that you...
Right. No problem there. I still put your name down since you're going to get a T-shirt, but I understand that.
If somebody else can use it,
Oh, okay. I got to go over to the relay meeting. I hate I'm going to miss our speaker.
You ain't missing much.
Yes, I am. Yes, I am.
Okay,
And
Thank you.
if you're still here when I get back, I'll see you then.
Might still be talking. Might still be talking.
Not much to
And
it.
somebody save me a little food, because I haven't had anything since about
Okay.
Good answer.
I have.
Okay, so we got that taken care of now. Let's move right along to Mr. T.A. Shell. Mr. Shell's father, who was the principal at Century. Was he the principal when they opened up that?
Yes, he was.
Well, come on up here with me. And
I'm gonna get them
obviously
pictures
his daddy was quite a man. He produced a tremendous lawyer, I understood, until he ruined his reputation when they wrote about him in the paper Sunday, and they said his buddies weren't in my guy. So that ruins you. But Saturday? Okay. So what we're gonna do, we're gonna turn this thing over to you, and you tell us about what you want to tell us
All
about.
right, I appreciate it. I have about 100 and something pictures that I've collected over the years of a lot of you folks, and I'm gonna donate it to the Alger-Sullivan Historical Society. You'll see a lot of people in there you recognize. You'll notice that the girls, I've got 4 or 5 pictures in there I was sweet on. They weren't exactly sweet on me, but they're in there. And you may want to let people look at those in due time. I'm honored to be here. I'm pleased that my good friend Paul Killam and Earl Tisdale and Sweet Stuckey and Lloyd Barra and a whole bunch of Henry Earl McCutcheon and a whole other bunch of others that I probably can't call you names but should, and Jerry Simmons came in spite of the fact that I was talking, and Miss Marguerite, you too. Sure good to see you. I'm honored to be in the presence of a renowned journalist who's sitting on the back row, Mr. Green. Over 50% of your columns I appreciate. And I read every one of them. Now,
That's the one between columns you appreciate, right?
yes, sir. I appreciate them all. My bride of 50 years and 4 months is Eloise. Hold your hand up, sweet love. Y'all can see that I'm married way over my head, and everybody else knows that. Now, I'm just going to tell you all a story or two. And, no, I just ain't going to spend a whole lot of time. What's 15 and 38? 53. I got it. Well, we lived on Church Street over here, and the houses were built in order of importance. You started at Church in Jefferson, and that was the Rogers, and that was the most important on Church Street. And at the very end of Church Street was the Shells, which was the least important. So you can figure that out. We paid our maid, Maddie Black, or Maddie Purefoy, you may know her. Maddie got $2 a week, and she saved $50 one year. $50, and she came and cooked 3 meals a day, 6 days a week. She had Sunday off. My mama was a teacher. We went to peanut balls, quilting parties, spelling bees. I almost wet my pants one time at a spelling bee. I got so excited, and my wife didn't like for me to say that, but that's the way it was. Taffy pulls, pine cone wars, corn cob wars. You know, you just did things in a small town. And you're not old enough to have delivered me, but I was born in Turnerville Hospital in 1930. One of the things that happened while I was here was we got our flush toilet. And I run in there and I said, Mama, you wash one foot and you pull the chain and it switches water for the other foot. That's the most fun thing I ever saw. The iceman brought the ice and he took it and put it in the ice box. And sweet milk, which is white milk now, was a dime, and buttermilk was a nickel, and cream rose to the top, and you poured out the cream and you could whip it. And then they got these bottles that had the neck in them and a little spoon, and you could hold it down so there wouldn't any of the regular milk get in it. So you always had good whipping cream. My mom was a Finch. They lived over on Front Street, and my granddaddy drove that old 100 train sometime. I remember I got my foot caught in a switch there, and that train was coming down on me, but it was coming so slow that I managed to get out, but I thought I was going to lose a foot. My mom and Mildred, her twin sister, and I married a twin, and my son has got twins, so it runs in the family. They were the first two graduates of Century High School. Everybody else could afford to go to Atmore and those other places, but my family, they went to Century. Until the day that they died, my mama and her twin sister were arguing over who was the valedictorian and who was merely the salutatorian. Now, who knows about Morelands? Morelands was an old creek down there, and it was about 8 foot wide and 10 foot long and about 5 feet deep. Is that right, Lloyd?
That's not right.
That's about right. It was dark, and we never wore a tire in there. And the thing that really got us is it's a good thing it was dark, because the doggone girls would come up there and sit around. We wouldn't be revealed as long as we remained in Morelands, but we couldn't get out, and I almost froze to death one time, sitting there waiting for them dang girls to leave. We played, yeah.
Remember we used to go up there and somebody wanted to go home, you know, and in a hurry or something, you know, and we'd let them get out, you know, and then you probably would, and we'd throw dirt on them. They'd have to go back in and then wash it off. They come out again, we'd throw dirt on them again. We just keep them there, everybody wanted to go.
Oh, yeah.
There was some evil about you.
Morelands was at Hecker Road and Highway 29. It was down in front of the Caters. You remember where the Caters lived? I don't guess you do. He was a dentist. But it was down in that hole somewhere. What do you think, Lloyd?
Yeah, it's about maybe 200 yards up the creek there, you know, behind the Berkey's, Don Berkey, and then you live there.
Yeah,
behind there.
Don and Randolph.
Yeah.
Well, we played post office. That's where you got back there and a girl called you, and if you did right, you got to kiss her. Well, mine, the ones that always called me were long distance. They had to stay aside. We played spin the bottle, and if spin the bottle got to you, I know y'all know all this. And we got to go walking with somebody, and we played 5-minute date. Now, 5-minute date was when you went into church, and you sat next to whoever drew your marker, and it had to be a member of the opposite persuasion, sex, I mean. Then they turned the light off, and you could proceed for 5 minutes, and all of a sudden they turned the light back on. Well, most of the women girls that drew my marker, they didn't want to proceed. They didn't want to proceed aggressively, and by the time I started to make some progress, they thought the light might come on, and so they moved back inside. But there was one girl that had rotten teeth, and killer halitosis, and I won't tell you her name, but she drew my marker 9 out of 10 times, and she wanted to proceed through all the whole 5 minutes and back until the light went back on. Oh man, I thought I was going to throw up. Well, I don't remember Rankin Bracken. Rankin, had an old Nash back then. Lloyd, he was probably with us. There's a fellow named Williams had a watermelon patch, and you know watermelons taste a lot better when you liberate them than they do when you pay for them. And so we started out one day to liberate a few watermelons and put them in the creek and float down the creek. And Mr. Williams come out with his gun. He was shooting. Oh my gosh. So we started to get in the car, and Rankin started to crank it and floated it. Well, we had 6 guys pushing that old Nash up the hill. We probably got it up to 20 miles an hour. But then Mr. Williams come down to my daddy and said, I'd give them all the watermelons they wanted. And so next day we went by there and asked him, and that sorry thing wouldn't give us a warrant. Well, you know, I'm going to tell you something you don't know. Is you walk from Front, all the way along Front Street, up Jefferson Street to Church Street, all the way back to Mayo Street, and then back to Front Street, you walked a half a mile. And so whenever we had to race a mile, we ran all the way around those twice, and we was there. And when we had to do a 14-mile hike, we went a mile past Earl Tisdale's house and turned around and came back. Leach, that lived here, was a forester, and he planted Christmas trees. Christmas trees grow once every, it takes 7 years to grow a juniper. And he planted one a year, and every 7th year, he picked the end tree and took it in, and that was his Christmas tree. I bet you if you look back here, you'll find some bunch of junipers. I don't know. I looked a while ago and didn't see them. Halloween. Oh, Lord, y'all remember that. There wasn't any such thing as trick or treat. It was all trick. And there wasn't a privy left in Century standing up when Halloween was over. And you know, we used to get some dog stuff and put it in a bag and throw it up on somebody's porch and light it when they came out. They found out that it wasn't what they expected was in there. Well, one day, there was about 15 or 20 of us, and I know Lord will remember this. We come going up the street on Front Street, and there were 2 dumb people there. It was me and Joe Ivy Nicholas. And they convinced us to go up on Mr. Sam Hamilton's porch and steal a chair. Metal chair leaning up against the porch. So us 2 stupid boys, we got up there, grabbed the chair, pulled it, and they were all wired together. They all down that front at once. And Mr. Sam, he threw the window up and says, I still remember exactly what he said. He says, that's enough of that, boys. And he shot. Well, running, my friends just flushed out like a covey of quail. And as they was going by, Lewis Ledbetter tripped. And I said, my God, they got Lewis. Yeah, at least they didn't get you, but you remember that. What you don't remember, well, you may remember.
I remember when I got her to the corner, Bill Crawford, he was standing there waiting on us. He got that run on us.
He was tall, wasn't he? But people that were there said that Joe Ivy and I jumped that fence and cleared it by 1.5 feet. And I have been back 8 or 10 times and tried to jump that fence. I've never been able to even come close to jumping it. Not even close. Who remembers the fire at the mill? I know y'all do. That was one of the most traumatic experiences that ever happened. The whole sawmill burned. I mean burned. My daddy had on a white linen suit, and he was up at the school conducting some program. And the commissary that was across from the drugstore had some dynamite in it. And so those brave men sat up there with the fire hoses holding the drugstore, which was right across the street, burned to the ground. And they saved the commissary. And when my daddy got home, he had on a tan linen suit. It was white when he left, and it was pure tan. When he never wore that again. My mama, I remember we took our furniture out and put it in the yard over by where the hospital was. And one particular piece of furniture my mama didn't take out. I finally figured out that was one she was hoping she would lose and be able to buy a new piece instead. Yeah, I ain't got much more time.
You go ahead and take your time.
Alger Ledbetter was one of my dear friends. We had a gang, Alger Ledbetter, Edward Kennedy, Simi Archer, and myself, and we were just together all the time. And Al, we finally started calling him Al, and then because Owl sounded like Al, we started calling him Owl, and then we started calling him Hoot Owl, and then came Hootie. And Hootie was a good athlete. I moved down to Pensacola High School and was playing on the Pensacola baseball team, and I hit a triple on the Hootie, and the sucker picked me off at third base. Boy, you want to turn your tail between your legs. You walk over back to the coach when you get picked off at third base after hitting a triple. We had a hayride one time, and that was one of the wonderful things we did. And the peculiar part of this mule is he started breaking wind. Well, we started counting. And he quit at 321 consecutive wind breaks. I'm telling you. My daddy, he was a disciplinarian that didn't do normal things. He did paddle people, and you had to lean over and grab your ankles, and when you got through, you had to shake his hand and say, "Thank you, Mr. Shell." And I've had many a boy say it was harder to shake his hand than it was to take the paddle. But I went out there one time on the steps on the grounds, and there was a girl there throwing an eraser at a stick that said KO, I think, on it. And you could figure out she'd thrown an eraser at KO during the school, and she had to throw the eraser for 40 minutes. We had two boys that decided they were going to interrupt the class and start coughing. Well, the teacher finally called my daddy, and he grabbed those boys and he took them around to every class, and he says, "Now these boys are going to cough for you about 5 minutes." I cough. Finally they say, "Mr. Shell, please, we'll push you. Nobody's coughing no more." That's the truth too. We didn't know about it. We didn't know we were poor. We really didn't. My daddy made $200 a month, and he was a school principal. That was about 2% of what Edsel made when he was a school principal. And there wasn't any retirement. There wasn't anything else. And to top that off, we got paid in scrip part of the time. You remember what scrip was? Scrip is what the county paid you when they didn't have any tax money to pay. And the scrip is a piece of paper that says someday we'll pay you $1. Well, Bubba's store gave you 50 cents on $1 for scrip. And we had to take our scrip over there and buy groceries with 50 cents on $1. Speaking of making money, you remember we used to go pick cotton? They'd let us out from school to pick cotton, and you stand up there on the back of the wagon and just jump in that cotton. That was fun. And they had, you picked beans too. That was during the war, and there wasn't any men around to pick beans. And a hamper of beans was that tall, and you got 30 cents for a hamper. And I I'd fill my hamper up. It'd take me hours and hours and hours, and I'd go over there to the guy and say, well, here's my hamper. Give me my 30 cents. He'd pick the hamper up and go, thunk. Half full right there. Just half full. Remember the silent movies? Mrs. Hare, Elsie Hare, would play the piano. And when they were going across, the cowboy was chasing the guy across there, she'd play, then when the love scenes came on, she'd play real sweet love music. And we thought silent movies was the most wonderful thing in the world. Y'all remember Tootie Baker? Tootie Baker was a pretty little girl, but the main thing we liked about her was her daddy had a Studebaker. And we thought Tootie Baker and a Studebaker was the most wonderful thing. He had one of those Studebakers that was two-ended. You know, you thought, came up behind it and you thought it was going towards you. And he would, a lot of people had wrecks because they thought this car was it was hard to tell apart. Henry Ray, y'all remember Henry? Henry Ray's father was Henry Greenberry Ray. Well, Henry goes into class first year, and she says, what's your name? He says, Junior Ray. And she says, no, your name's not Junior Ray. It's Henry Greenberry Ray Jr. Well, so he changed his name and got Henry Greenberry Ray Jr. And when he got in Korea or Vietnam, I can't remember which, he got discharged but had to have his birth certificate to get back to the States. And he sent off to Jacksonville and got his birth certificate, and it said Junior Ray. Exactly what it is. There's Grace Sparks here. Grace Falkenberry. Okay. Y'all won't tell Grace, will you? I'm going to tell you something terrible that happened to me. My secretary, or my receptionist, is supposed to say, Mr. Shell, Sweet Stucky is out here, and she is married to Tommy, and Tommy went to school with you. So I got buzzed one time, and I went out there, and my receptionist said, Maroon's here. I said, no, Maroon. Who is Maroon? And I looked over there, and this lady that I swear to you I had never, ever seen in my life and didn't recognize, came over and threw her arms around me and says, oh, T.A., we lost Ralph. That didn't ring a bell. I said, well, come back here and tell me about it. And I says, well, what happened? She says, I went out in the flower bed and Ralph was laying there dead. I said, well, I didn't know who or what Ralph was. So I get back there, and I finally figured out that Ralph was her husband, and he had died. I said, well, where do you live? She says, same place. I says, did Ralph have a will? And she says, you drawed it. What am I doing? And I says, did you bring the will with you? She says, yeah. I says, let me see it. She says, I left it over to court. She says, oh my gosh. I said, what am I going to do? So I finally says, what was the cause of death? She says, I've got his death certificate. I said, give me that thing. And I says, oh, Grace, I'm glad he didn't suffer. I spent 30 minutes just absolutely in pure hell trying to think of what that girl's name was that I had grown up with and couldn't call her name. I think I'm back.
No, go ahead.
Would you tell a story about how your dad's car wouldn't crank up at your school?
Well, this is down in Pensacola. My daddy, as he matured, backwards, but it wouldn't go forward. It wouldn't go forward. He backed all the way downtown, came up to my office and said, my car won't go forward. I said, well, we'll go out to the house and get it. He said, no, I'll back you downtown.
I hope he owned a Studebaker.
Yeah.
But we went out there, and I got in and let the emergency brake loose, and it went right along. My daddy, he used to take us to breakfast every morning. I got 3 boys, and we would take him to breakfast every morning after my mama died, and we'd get a butter biscuit and I got a ham biscuit and a cup of coffee, and it was $1.53. He would never let me pay. Well, you know that, Paul. He would never let his kids pay for anything. Well, we get up there, and all of a sudden, he can't find his wallet. I said, well, Daddy, I'll pay today. I'll pay today. Oh, no. I said, well, let me just lend you the money. Here, I'll lend you some. Oh, no. So he goes up there and gets the manager from McDonald's, and the manager makes arrangements for the manager to give him. I'm in my suit. I need to get to work. I got clients coming in. I'm broke. I got kids that I need to support. You know, all that stuff. And he wants me to drive back home so he can get $1.53 and bring it back down to McDonald's and then drive him back home. So finally I agreed to do that, and we started out, and I looked and I said, Daddy, isn't that your wallet in your back pocket? And he says, no, it's not, I've tried. And we commenced to look, and he had on 2 pair of pants. His wallet was in the back of his pants. And listen, does anybody need to leave? If y'all do.
The story I was talking about was when you had a push and you let out on the clutch and it still wouldn't crank, so you had to push it a little bit more all the way down Jefferson to Church Street. And then you finally, when the boys were pushing, he turned on the key and it cranked up.
Oh, I remember that too. So my dad, he was unusual. He couldn't get it. I went home one day after my mama died, and he wasn't in the house. I couldn't figure that out. And so finally I was walking, I heard something around back, and my daddy had come out of the storeroom with an axe. And I said, what's that for, Daddy? He says, I locked my key in the house and I'm getting in. Anyway, y'all got me off my... we were great football players in those days. Even for a century, I think Lloyd and I sat on the bench. Lloyd never got to play.
Not much.
But I didn't get to play much. But we had a play that we were very unique. We called the Statue of Liberty. Our quarterback would come back there and stand up like that. And Jimmy Van Merkenstein would come around behind him and grab the ball off of him and run around in for a touchdown. That didn't work. Well, we had a play called the Sally Rand. Y'all remember Sally Rand? She was a lady of the night and a stripper. And the reason we called it the Sally Rand was in a naked reverse. Everybody went one way and we let this guy kick the other way, and he was over there but nobody around him. And that was our naked reverse. We didn't win a whole lot of games. So. Andalusia was a big town. They one of their teams canceled on them. And they offered my daddy $50 to take the team over to Andalusia and play. Well, we got up to Andalusia. I was about 8 then, I think. And Andalusia comes out on the field with 75 ball players. We had 19. And 7 of them wasn't much ball players. And the first play of the game, I think Buck Garrett crossed with Dewey Simpson, and Dewey went for a touchdown. And after that, it was 75-6.
Y'all made him mad.
We made him mad. And Big Boy Lynch, do y'all know him?
I remember reading him.
Big Boy Lynch was a great big boy, and Little Boy Lynch, you probably know, wasn't as big as Big Boy Lynch. But Big Boy Lynch, he was tough. He came in though at about the third quarter and said, Mr. Shell, I'm going to die if I had to stay out there any longer. And so Daddy pulled him out and put somebody else in. Jay Hill. Who's ridden the bicycle up Jay Hill? I was 14 before I ever made my bicycle all the way up. My cousin was Melvin Lovett. Y'all remember Melvin?
Yeah.
Melvin, he didn't have a bicycle, but he borrowed one. But the brakes didn't work. So we coming down Jay Hill on that bicycle, and his hat fell off, and he stuck his toe down. He wrapped off about that much of his big toe. And, oh man, it was just bleeding everywhere. First time I ever went 100 miles an hour. I was coming down the hill with Jackie Turbeville, and about, you probably was in that car too, or somebody, and we couldn't get to 100, and he said, roll the windows up. So we rolled the windows up and got to 103 by the time we hit the river. That was just something else. My daddy was an innovative hunter too. We'd go out there and hunt quail. And this quail gets this single got out one time. My daddy had a 5-shot shotgun, which couldn't put but 3 shells in it because that was the law. You had to plug it. And Daddy says, boom, boom, boom. And that quail just kept right on flying. And Daddy says he was too full of shot to eat anyway. You had to, at the end of the year, when you applied for your hunting license, you had to tell how many quail you killed that year. And Daddy wrote down, help kill 1 quail. Lawrence Nelson gave me a 410 shotgun. And Mr. Johnny Hare used to take me hunting. And we got out there and I cornered a squirrel up the top of a tree. And I lowered on him with some number 8 bird shot. I shot him about 3 or 4 times, and finally he fell. And I ran, put him in my pocket because he was dead. That sucker bit the living daylight. I had my britches off before you could even think. It was just tough. Y'all remember Horace King? Horace isn't around here anymore, is he? Horace was please don't spread this around, but he was a bully. And I was little, and my parents were the school teachers. He used to knuckle my head, all that stuff. And in the back alley of the Century, we had all these cows. And cows want to create fresh cow piles. So I got me the biggest, juiciest, freshest cow pie you ever saw in your life, and covered it up with sand. And then I went and made me another sand pile the same size. Jerry's read this, he's read my book. The same size, and I put a quarter in it. And I told a bunch of boys that were with me, and we saw Horace coming up the street. And I go over there, and I see that good sand pile, and I went over there and I says, my gosh, I found a quarter. There's another one. So old Horace, he pushes me aside, runs over and puts his hand out in the sand pile with cow stuff. Woo! He was akin to Mr. Green back here. He couldn't catch me. It took him about 6 months to catch me. But I took a licking when he did. Every time I ever saw him, I called him Cow Pile. He was my friend. During the war, we were patriotic. I tried to join. I was 15. I looked like a 9. But my cousin Melvin double-headed me all over the place, and we got Lucky Strike wrappers and tore the wrappers off and got this foil off of them. And we had had 2 big old things of foil that we saved for the war. My daddy was going to Pensacola, took me and Melvin, and I know I shouldn't say took. I know my English, but I'm just sorry. Took Melvin and me, and we went to Pensacola scrap. They sold out foil that we spent a month picking up for a nickel. And Melvin gave me 3 cents because it was my bicycle. Giving blood. Y'all remember how you used to give blood? You had a tall bed and a short bed. And the giver was up on the tall bed, and he ran it down into the guy in the short bed that was getting the blood. And I learned right then that liquid runs downhill. I've always known that. Oh man, I can't do all this on y'all. But we just really, it was a pleasure to grow up in Century. I really think that Century people are better than other people. I really do. Not because I'm one, but because I grew up, and the only smoking I ever did was rabbit tobacco. And those of you that got that rabbit tobacco and wrapped it in a thing and you lit it, you had to get rid of it real quick. And go, it burned you. Oh, boy. And I always learned that you went upriver, not downriver in a boat. Because if you went upriver to get turtle eggs and your boat motor quit, you could always get back down. But if you went downriver, there just wasn't anything to do. Nothing. We played cow poker, and at Shaver's Dairy, and whoever got the most cows on his side of the road won. Well, it didn't matter which side I picked. My daddy always drove so that the cows was on his side. Always wasn't for. We laid out on the Highway 29 and watched shooting stars in August. And never thought a car would come by. I got mad when they did come by. And, we got up there on the Flemington Bridge, and if it got too high to jump off, you didn't want to jump off in the deep spot, Jackie Turtle would take you and throw you off. So you always jumped off in the deep spot because you know you were going to get thrown off somewhere if you didn't jump. Poor Jack was a pilot who got killed in the Korean War. It's just, I went to the Central Methodist Church other than for 5-minute dates. And my grandfather Finch was a steward in that church, and there's still a name up there on one of the windows that says A.S. Finch. My mama was a steward after her, and that's one of the places with M.C. Leach in scouting that I got what I believe to be a good set of values. I grew up with the finest people in all the world. Tommy Stuckey, K.O. Stanton, Princess Ellen Harrison, Myra Jean Stanton, Floyd Barrow, Algie Ledbetter. In K.O.'s funeral, it's the only funeral I've ever been to where the hearse got to the cemetery at Bluff Springs, wasn't it? Right. At Bluff Springs before the last car left the funeral home. Yeah. Now that was miles and miles. And I grew up with people that were the salt of the earth. My dad also always thought that Olin and Wayne were really good guys, Earl. That's Earl's brothers. I'm not sure what he thought of Earl, but he really did like Olin. But he did think Earl was one of the finest guys that ever lived. Tisdales, they really were, and
Still on.
still are. I'm granting that. And I praise the Lord for growing up with these dear hearts and gentle people in Central Florida. And I hate to say that I'm better than the city people.
Well, you left P. Joe Willis out.
Now, who was P. Joe Willis?
Well, like Lois can tell you. He sounds just like something y'all.
P. Joe was, I don't really remember, P. Joe was a little older than me.
Well, Ralph and
Well, that's different, just a different set of Willis.
yeah, and Roxy,
This, Roxy and Ralph.
Charles.
Yeah, some Willis was a different set of Willis. And if you probably don't remember P. Joe. He didn't go to school very, he didn't go very high in school.
Well, you know, Bud and what was his brother Jones is the floor man. What's his name? Robert. It was a miracle that Robert got through school. Robert was not bright. And my daddy just absolutely shoved him through school and wouldn't let him quit. And Robert gone down to Pensacola and established Jones Floor Covering, had about 8 stores, a beautiful house over in Gulf Breeze, and he's never seen me that he didn't say, Mr. Shell is the reason I am what I am. My daddy would, there's a lot of girls couldn't buy their high school rings, and my daddy bought them for them. There was a girl one time who was playing ball, got hit in the eye, got a black eye. Daddy went over to Bubba's and got a piece of steak and put it on there. I thought that was a waste. My grandmother, I'm almost through. My grandmother run chickens' necks, and Daddy decided he'd do it one time. He got this chicken's neck, he wrung it all around, he put that poor thing on the ground, it was just doomed. And the chicken got up and ran up under the house, and we had to eat biscuit and molasses for dinner, which I didn't think was all that bad. But my grandmother was outdone, and we didn't have chicken. And God bless you. I love you, and I appreciate being here. Thank you.
Here's a little gift. There's a set of some of our history books. I hope you don't have them. But if you have them, we'll exchange them for something else. Break out them Cracker Jacks here.
Oh, man, thank you. I love these.
Yeah, that cookbook.
Jerry, you were talking about Kel and Tommy does. I guess most of you don't remember. Louise does. Kel and Francis and Tommy and I got married the same night. But my wedding, we had a real pretty wedding at my home. And of course we had mostly families and a few friends. And then after we got married, we went down. Kel and Francis wanted to go on their honeymoon with us. So we went down to Francis and Kel went to their wedding. And then we got in Tommy's daddy's car, which they had rode all over. And we went to the Whitley Hotel in Montgomery, which was finest then. And they had this huge Shriners convention. And if they didn't give us we got married at, same time.
Some kind of party. Mr. Shell, you may be a fine lawyer, but I think you missed your call. You'd give Bob Hope some trouble later.
Oh, Lord, thank you.
Yes, sir, Mr.
May I tell T.A. a quick story?
Yes, sir.
It's another car story.
We would love to hear.
The year I was a senior here at Century High School, one afternoon we were in an English class, and your dad came in, interrupted the class, told the teacher, I need to borrow Earl Tisdale for 2 or 3 hours. And I had to leave the class and go with him. We went out to his car. He said, I've got to make a business trip over to Walnut Hill High School. I want you to go with me. Well, you can imagine how important I felt. My gosh, here's the principal of the school, took me out of class to take me with him on a trip. About halfway to Walnut Hill, the tire blew out. Your dad said, I was afraid that was going to happen. That tire was going to clear. He took me to change the tire. That's what he thought of me.
He was pretty smart.
Oh, man. Does anybody else have?
I got another thing on, Sky, your dad took Lawrence Gentry into the office, paddling, and so he took him in, didn't have, back then didn't have air conditioning and everything, the winter and stuff, so he took Lawrence in the office, reached around, closed the door, and when he closed the door, Lawrence jumped out the window and run. One way of told him and giving his father a knock.
I expect you did.
And Henry McCutcheon for years has told me how good y'all all was. Boy, Henry. Does anybody else have anything else they want to bring out tonight?
I got a question.
What? Go ahead.
Mr. Shell, one time we were over here in the old school across from the hospital, what was it, high school. About the 8th grade, I think. He come in, they were building a new school. All right, well, he came in there one day. How many of you boys can drive? 13, 14 years old. So come on, go with me. So here we go up to where they were building now. Boy, I'm sorry, but we got to pull these weeds.
He knew how to trick you, boy. Y'all got a good education. David, you had something, wasn't it you?
Question.
Yes, sir.
Turtle egg gathering. I need more details.
Well, there's turtle eggs on a sandbar. You go up the creek or down up the river, and you came to a sandbar at a certain time of the year, and you would see turtle tracks around in a circle, about this big, and you dig down there, and there was little turtle eggs about this big, and you could take them home, and they had yolks, and we scrambled them up and ate them. And of course that wasn't very green at that time, but they were there.
They still are too, I want you to know.
Are they?
I've gone up and down the Scambia River and seen where they've been going up. And every time I tried to dig them up, I kept finding where the coon beat me to them.
Well, look at that might be an alligator egg.
They all eat the same, I'm sure.
Well, maybe you need to start going after the coons instead. Okay, with anybody else? Yes, ma'am.
Needs one of the cookbooks because of our Ted's contributions. Now the man is accomplished. He writes himself and all this, but he needs to read.
He might need to learn. Well, I don't know. He might need to give that to his wife.
Well,
instead
now
of
that
me.
might be a good idea. She's not going to cook before, but I love reading that book. People enjoy it.
Memory of home cooking. I've cooked every recipe in there.
Don't you lie.
Does that including the one about how to boil water? That's about all I could ever do. All right, remember next month, I believe it's on the 19th of June, we'll be meeting again.
What about
May? May. Okay, I skipped a month. I was in a hurry to get to you, Miss Faye.
You go to school at?
Remember, Ruth is going to be our guest speaker, so y'all all come on back and let's see what else we got going. Good to have y'all all here. We got refreshments in the back. Let's see.
And we want to pass the hat before everybody leaves.
Yes. One more thing, Margaret. Would you mind leading us in a verse of Happy Birthday, Harold?
Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Harold. Happy birthday to you.
And Harold City,
I saw Kerry today. Was it?
How you doing, Mom?
And I was trying to tell somebody that I couldn't get started. I hate to see that fall over. I hope I don't not.
It's getting dark. You like it?
Yeah, that's one way to get in. Really? I didn't know what it was called.
For listening, I'm sorry to take so much of your time.
Okay. Now Carol made the suit. I made the Where is it?
Right here?
Okay, I'm going to get some tea in a minute. Yeah, yes ma'am. Unsweet if we got it. Well, I'm sorry. Get over here now.
You gonna leave now?
Remember.
Jerry.
Yes, ma'am.
Reverend, good to see you. Yeah, good to see you.
Just curiosity. I was
Very good. My grandfather, the Reverend A.C. Shell, he preached around. He preached one Sunday. I'm gonna get over here in the corner. Went from church here, and then he preached the fifth Sunday in another church, and they gave him a 1936 Chevrolet. I remember that. It was 1945, but they gave him a 36 Chevrolet.
It was almost straight out there in the woods. And it came underneath Highway 29 right there. You know, right behind the courthouse there. And it empties into the mill pump. And then it goes right on into Salter's left. Let me get me some salt. I got salt. Now I've got your food over there. Somebody's got your food over there.
My food all right.
Didn't bring no salt.
But the swimming hole was further up the highway back of the bowling. He said close to that sharp curve.
Yeah, I don't know. I almost got to go. I got a fuel coming up. I got so much this week.
Oh, Brother Larry. Good. I hadn't got them framed up yet. I tell you what, after Saturday, I took 2 or 3 days laying in the pool. Yeah. He ain't coming back.
Is it? That was magnificent, wasn't it?
Oh my goodness.
You should have made Jim come.
I told him he should, but he didn't.
After working all day.
Well, I tell you, that's better than any comic you see on TV, isn't it?
Yeah. Yeah, because everyone you listen to except Foxworthy, they throw in all those smattering of bad words. You know, they do.
Sour cream pound cake.
You like pound cake?
Not yet. Oh, yeah. He'll be coming in a minute.
Miss Collier saw me bringing it in. She was sitting over there looking forward to it.
But yeah, whatever.
I don't know. They are. You have to come back to our thing they have here where everybody brings food. Yeah.
They probably got money. In fact, the Shells and Jay were the ones that had the money.
Daddy used to bring her a meal just about every day.
By their outhouse. Put lights to the outhouse.
Yeah. All right. Well, I heard that she had an aneurysm. She did well living long as she did. Good lady. Pilgrim Lodge, 1 o'clock Saturday.
Hey, good to see you again.
I'm fine. You know, we're talking about saying what kind of man all his boys were. And I remember your daddy asked my daddy, well, Earl was your command officer back in Korea. What was he like?
Well, I was born here in 1930. So he was at least here, I think he was here 17 years.
We were doing all right.
He was principal about 15 years.
But they always talked about that last report he gave. He figured when you were leaving the same day you were, surely you would read it.
The brick school. And Dyson built it for $50,000.
All right.
Gary, how you doing these days?
I can't complain.
Good.
I mean,
Yeah, but I'm waiting on the 100 people.
I'm doing all right.
Anybody that wants to sign up on the refreshment list, we got a...
Well, now he's a different story. He's getting old and sassy.
You know, we all getting older and older.
He's doing pretty good. He's been having trouble with his eyes for a couple of years.
He was principal.
All in all, he's really doing all right.
High school. And John doing well, I'm sure.
Yeah. Her parents are having some problems. They're both down, and they're requiring a lot of time from John.
that goes with the territory too.
Yeah. That's the problem with old parents.
Well, we all need some help. I wish my kids lived closer. Of course, I think that's the reason they live so far away, so they won't have to fool with me. Hey, little lady.
Hey, Jerry.
How are you?
Good to see
Oh,
you.
you too. Why don't you eat this while I take care of Well, that old Shell man, you know, he was pretty good tonight, wasn't he? He didn't, oh, we heard him.
I did, Jerry. I was ignoring you. Thank y'all for listening to me.
We enjoyed it. This is much over there.
Not me.
What a carrot.
No, you don't.
You need to go tonight.
Right, thanks. You'll get that. To DVD. Yeah. Okay. Well, the reason I'm asking, my brother is coming to the theater. Are you going to be up there? I'm going to get some of this.
Well, I think that.
Well, my cousin. No, they're all good.
I got
That's all I need. If you don't get the yeah, I'm going to college.
But I'll have it.
I just call it
But anyway, I'll be there.
Oh, there she is.
But also, I was only said you never knew to do another James Bond movie.
Yeah.
Why are you doing it?
What?
Yeah, that goes with the
Okay. I'm ready. TA, Thurston Avenue.
Talk about when he started playing him up his
Nobody else is wanting to walk.
You don't have to go with me, but it is.
Senator Artis talked about how she tried to hide her southern. Always, every time she does
Hey, David. Jason. Watch that cake over there. Everybody make sure allergic to other cakes so y'all don't eat much.
Okay, I'll be careful.
That way I can eat all
You
that.
can take it all home with you if it's dangerous.
That's my favorite cake. Yeah, Carol knows that.
Yeah.
Put me one on there too. Yeah. Now, Lord Chantry. Wow. Oh, what do you got there? Yeah, them old bad youngins of yours. No, I was going to check if there's any coffee made over here. Somebody's making it. Yeah, I'm going to give you a piece of cake. And I'm going to cup of coffee to go with it.
Georgia cornbread down the
Where's Larry?
He went that way and looked at all that stuff.
Okay.
He's in there.
Okay, I'm just trying to make sure that he got the connection between
Benny, got
Larry
something else in
and
here.
Lawrence Nelson. He didn't really understand that, so I was just telling him.
Yeah. Larry's somewhere in there.
She went off to...
Have we got any styrofoam cups? Yeah, we got them.
I saw her feet that day. She went back to being sort of...
Woo! Here. I got it.
Come on.
We found that office. Right.
And then you'll see.
Yeah, I'm gonna wash dishes.
Oh, that's where we'll meet you, cafeteria, not the gymnasium? Oh, that's where the yeah. Oh, okay. That'll be fine. We're gonna stay till about 10 o'clock that night. Up past though. That'll be a long day for you, something.
Yeah.
Why? We did, Jay wanted to stay all night. It poured all night.
Hopefully it won't.
Wow. I really didn't take much advantage of it. All sitting around the building.
I wanted to get some of this coffee.
That's what 10 o'clock, meet at 10. That's fine.
Okay, we got it under control there.
I think I understand that sometimes.
You can't say
Okay, did he get him something? Might as well come on in here and eat.
Everybody makes
He's never hungry. He don't need anything.
Huh. That ain't like my grandyoungers. They eat every time you see them.
Well, mine live behind me.
They do. Oh. Yeah, he did. I've been chug-a-lugging it.
I thought you were snubbing us. Did it last that long?
How we doing on that?
Well, somebody told me that a friend of theirs had seen it years ago and they used it as part of it.
I guess he's already gone in here.
I mean, Lou. Couldn't get up, come get it.
Did you hear Jerry announcing him?
No, I didn't hear what he said. Oh, my. I'm glad I didn't. I'm glad I didn't.
Shanghai or something like that.
Next week, they could do it all by themselves. Tommy would have said,
Szechuan stuff.
she goes dragging late.
That's mighty nice.
Yeah, we were glad to see you.
I used to like it when he did it. I never wanted the thoughts. The whole guy killed it.
Can I,
Go right to the back. Have you ever seen it? Well, I dare say, I go in there, there'll be more food there than is sitting. There you go. That's so good. But anyhow, you gotta go. Time to go. I had something to do. That's 30 minutes. Right where we got here, John Eric Friday.
I think my sister and brother are going to come. Bobby and Mary. We were talking about
Good, it's always,
House of Charm.
you'll never be able to eat a little bit of everything.
Let's go to Fiji Island on tip of the let it quit.
He really did. Yeah. I believe
We got some stories on this man here too.
Yeah, I'm gonna start that. I've been hanging around Jay, gathering them up on me.
He wouldn't let them all over.
mighty good soup, Carol. I might better move away from that food. I looked in the monitor and there I was. Where did I put my tea?
Look like everybody really enjoyed it.
They did.
Right over there.
It was nice week. Glad to wait in there.
Okay.
Gone, Jerry? All right.
But you want sweet, don't you?
Preferably.
Where are you sitting, Carson?
We got something to drink out.
Come over and visit with you.
I just left it sitting in there at my desk. Are you gonna come over to the high school reunion Saturday?
She's one of them foreigners from, was it Excel or?
Well, she'd still be well. Yeah, Billy broke it to me. He didn't know exactly when they was going to marry. He thought it was Saturday. So you don't know what time. You know, those things generally last all day. Maybe I'd like to put that tape that Jerry had on the CD. KO station. Come up to that. I thought I'd seen him put a tape in there. I'm gonna get another piece for you.
Subscribe to just a certain type of
I keep it propped up where it's on that page.
He may have, what I have left it here. I don't know. We'll check it and see. Right, exactly. Nobody knows that nowadays. I wish y'all would know. I didn't say you should. Grandpa John was great. Think y'all okay? Oh, yeah. Good. I don't even eat this. I remember. Normally I don't either. 2 things a month. It's this up here I eat.
Well, we generally have a feast down here too.
Right.
Isn't that right, Miss Andy? We have a feast down here at the Historical Society, don't we? Well, that's one good way to make sure you have enough.
I gotta see a clear path. Let me go up there and look and see if it's up there. I thought about doing it.
What is it? What is it?
Sure was good. You made that, didn't you? Toffee. Toffee.
Most anybody that can't see back here generally ends up with that spot.
It's great. I did. I want to throw one more name at you. Lillian Huey. She said he was in my class. I got thinking it might have been the old Rotten Tooth girl. My sister's friend's